So now we're going to take the adventure. We're going to go out of the garden and we're going to go into the backyard. And this is where my vision starts to come into play. The garden was Josephine's vision, and I made sure I did everything possible to make that happen, and she's very happy with the garden. What I've always wanted, and what I kind of fell into when I first came out, started researching gardening and stuff, was an edible landscape. And as you saw when you first walked in, that was kind of like my addition to the house. And now this is now my further additions to the house. When I first came to South Carolina, I stayed with one of my coworkers when my Airbnb kind of ran out and had issues with my Airbnb. I stayed with them for a couple weeks. So it was Lee and Sherry Benoire. And they had a couple of blackberry bushes in their backyard. And I thought that was the coolest thing. So when I was out getting soil and raised bed soil, I saw that they had blackberries for sale, and I was all about it. And so I did a sun study, and over here and over there get approximately 5 hours of sun throughout the day with the shadow and the way the sun goes. So in the morning that gets about 5 hours, 5.5 hours, and this gets about 5 to 6 hours of sun, maybe a little bit more on this side. And I think that's going to be just enough where they can start producing some really solid fruit. We have now, I didn't know what I was doing when I bought these from Lowe's, and now I have a better understanding of what's going on and what how blackberries produce, and how they kind of propagate fruit. So there's two types of blackberries you can get, and there are a floricane and there are a primocane fruiting variety. These are floricanes. What that means is they'll grow a stalk like this, and like this, and like this for the first year, and you'll get no fruit. What it is, it's forming itself, and then it's going to go dormant over the winter, and then it gets the appropriate amount of time to kind of cool off, and then when it comes back to life, that's when it fruits. But luckily, and I say luckily because what they did was they didn't propagate the primocane, which is the first year cane. They propagated the floricane. So when they took the second year cane, cut it, and then put it in a pot so it rooted, these still believe they're second year cane, so they gave me fruit on the first year. So my first year planting them, I'm getting a pretty decent harvest. Not a lot. I'm probably looking at maybe like 30 or 40 berries, but enough to figure it out. I have two different type of varieties. This one variety that seems to be really flourishing is the Osage blackberry. It's a thornless blackberry, so there's no thorns on it, so it's easy to kind of pick. And then the rest, with the other four, are Navajo, which again are thornless, and they're pretty erect, and I use the trellis to kind of keep everything contained. So when they actually start really bearing a lot of fruit next year, they're going to kind of lean on the trellis, and it'd be easier to pick. Over here are my raspberries, and the raspberries are the same concept. There's floricanes and primicanes. The primicanes fruit on the first year, the floricanes fruit on the second year. These are floricane, and these are Glencoe raspberries. Now, what's interesting about these, and it was a big lie for Lowe's, but it was a lie that turned out to be in my favor. A Glencoe raspberry is actually a raspberry that's kind of cross between a raspberry and a blackberry. So it's not the normal red raspberry. It's actually a deeper purple, like a dark, deep purple. It's supposed to be sweeter and more gourmet-ish. So we should actually, next year, when these things start bearing fruit, we should be receiving a pretty interesting harvest from these guys. A couple of notes that I kind of screwed up, but now I'm kind of fixing my screw-ups. What you want to do is you want these to kind of grow up to right about the top of the trellis. This is about 5.5 feet tall. And once they get that tall, what you do is you clip the top, and then it's going to stop growing, and then it's going to do side branches. I didn't wait for some of these to get tall enough, and I cut them a little sooner than they should have, and now they're kind of hanging by a thread, so I'm just keeping it up here. Another one over here, I think I cut it, where is it? I cut it way short. I can't find it. It's back here somewhere. It's just hanging on there, just kind of just really low. And I cut it here when I should have just waited for it to get up here. But, you know, you live and you learn. What I want to do going forward next year, because my budget for all this is tapped now, is I've researched a primocane version of blackberries that actually produces really big blackberries. And this area right here receives about 7 hours worth of full sun, as opposed to this particular zone's getting about 5.5, 6 hours each. This will take most of the sun here, and I'll put a primocane version of a blackberry there called a Primark Freedom. I'll probably do 3 or 4 right here. Do the same thing. I'll probably dig up the earth a little bit and amend the soil, and then a very rocky area, so I can just create the rock zone like I did last time, and then put the fence around it, keep old Milo away. And then next year also, what I want to do is I want to put a orange tree over here, and then complement it with some blueberry bushes, a pink lemonade blueberry bush, and then 2 of them, and then 2 regular blueberry bushes. And then I want to put 2 fig trees over here, and then maybe at the top over here, because we own about 15 feet back, I'll put up a peach tree. And I think that would be kind of like a really awesome landscape, because you'll get the peach tree, orange tree, blueberries and figs, and behind the blueberries and figs, there's also primocane versions of raspberries, and I'll get a Caroline raspberry, which would fruit on the first year canes, and then I would get Fall Gold, which was like a yellowish raspberry, which is higher in sugar. That'll go over here, and that will fruit on the first year canes too, so I can harvest them in the late summer, early fall. And I think we'd have fruit and everything really kind of sorted out in this backyard, so you can go and from the front of the house to get fruit, garden, vegetables, come out here and get fruit all throughout the year. I think that is going to be amazing.